Yo, what's going on YouTube? It's Darnell got it. Darnell Donahue. If you're looking at credits, writer credits, producer credits, all that, you want to look me up. This is the first video on the channel that I'm doing, giving game. Little things that I've learned in the industry, being a producer and a writer, living in LA, originally from Jersey. I've dealt with like publishing and like labels and all types of stuff that happens in the business and in the industry. Letting people know the things that I've learned, getting it out there. If you guys got any questions about things in the industry and things creatively as far as dealing with music and the technical side, mixing, all of that, I'm going over it all. 3 main reasons why your beats suck. Let's let's start with that one. Do you have metering set up on your DAW? Now, I mostly work FL and Logic, and so I have 2 different meters for both programs. The second one is, do you know what key your beat is in? And are you keeping everything in your beat in that correct key? That's really important, because you might add an 808, or you might be adding counter melodies to a loop or counter melodies to a different melody you placed, and the next thing you know, you got 2 different keys going on. That'll make your beat sound wonky. It might start sounding like the circus, like clowns. My orange cat lying. The third is progressions, chord progressions and root note progressions. If you learn these 3 chords, you can play 100 pop songs, 150 pop songs. Basically, there are rules. If you do follow these rules that are kind of like certain progressions as far as your chords or your bass notes, they automatically give it a recognizable sound and feel that people can relate to and they feel comfortable with, and not only are they dope, which is why most people use them, but it's almost like using a sample. It's like it sounds familiar as soon as you hear it. So even if they've never heard your track before, if you're following these progressions, they automatically can catch a mood, a vibe, and they can groove with it because it musically and naturally makes sense to their ear. And hopefully you can use this stuff in your DAWs. Like I said, right now I'm doing FL and Logic, so if you have those 2, it'll be a lot more obvious for you. But if you're in another one, you can still download some of the stuff that I'm using, and obviously all the rules can still apply to a different DAW. So great, let's get it. We're gonna get into your metering. Now, metering is, I'm not exactly sure what the actual definition of, but it shows the spectrum of EQs and decibels, the range of frequencies that are going on, and and the dBs of those frequencies. So essentially like how loud the sound is, as far as whether it's like a low sound or it's like a really high sound, like an 808 versus like a cymbal or like hi-hats. So right here we're in FL. I'm going to the master track because that's where I put my metering. Right here I'm using one called Span. You can look it up and find it. I feel like is it Voxango? I don't know. It kind of looks like Voxango, but or by the same makers, but I'm not sure. So Span, right? So here's what it actually looks like. And so you can see the spectrum. You can see down at the bottom, these are like the frequencies, and then you have your dBs, which are like essentially the volume on the side. Sorry about the knocking. They're doing like renovations in the apartment upstairs. It's LA lifestyle. Okay, so basically what I want to show you guys with this is, so I already have like one of my loops loaded in here. And so as I'm playing it, you can see how it's affecting the spectrum. Now, one trick that you can do is, let's say you have a song that you like the mix of. What you can do is you can put that song on in your DAW and then see how it affects and shows up on that chart. So I'm gonna go to, I'm gonna pull up a song that was done in the studio that I know has a decent mix. So I'm gonna pull up one of the songs that I recorded because I don't want to get in trouble with copyright and all that. So we'll just use one of my songs. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna play this song and see how it affects the spectrum. And this can be a guideline because this was done in the studio. I spent a decent amount of time mixing it. So it can at least give myself and give you a range of how your stuff should line up when you play it back. So, like I said, find a song that you like the mix of. You know, whether it be the beat or the entire song or a cappella, just whatever musical thing or sound that you have that you want to match with your mix. As far as you, when you export it, you want it to sound similar. Drop it in. Have your metering, multimeter, span, probably ozone, isotope probably has one, and see how it affects the chart, the spectrum, and then copy that. So let's just give you an example of that real quick. So we're going to see. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to point out is the bass, right? So in this song, there's a bass. Doom, 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 doom. And because that's a lower note, it's going to be down here in these lower frequencies. And what we can do is we can see exactly where it's hitting around here to get a gauge of like, okay, well, if I have bass in my track, I might want it to hit around this same area. So I know that in my mix, it's not too loud and it's not too quiet. So let's look again. Okay, so we saw the bass, right? Now the next part would be like the body of the track, the music. This is really good to look at, especially if you have a song that you like the mix of and you want to copy the levels of the song. Play the song, especially before the vocals come in, and see how loud the music is, especially because in my intro, there's no drums yet too. So we have bass and we can hear the main body of the song and see where the music is hitting. So we know that in our tracks, if you want a similar mix, you want to have your levels hitting at that same volume. And that way, you know it's Gucci. So, just to kind of give a brief synopsis, we got stuff pretty much maxing out on span at this negative 30 dB, right? Pretty much everything is like topping out. I think the flute kind of goes above it at points, which could actually probably be turned down. But still, you get a general synopsis of you got bass up here, and then it kind of drops. Then around 8K to like 2K, it drops again, leaving some room for the vocal, and then you have some more highs coming in after that. But everything is around that negative 30, negative 36 for just the music part with no drums, no vocals. All right, so I will say that this track is pretty bumping in here. Turn it down a little bit. Actually, can't do that. Okay, so you see where the levels are hitting at. You see when the vocals come in and everything. Everything is still sitting around that negative 30. As far as the dBs. So more in-depth view would be stems, but you're not always gonna have stems. Sometimes you're just gonna have the track. So I feel like okay, so another thing that I'm noticing is, so let's say I'm trying to see like, okay, well, how loud, we know the bass, we know the music, how loud should like my snare or clap on the downbeat be? And if you time it as you're listening to the track, you can see it kind of when it comes in at that negative 36 dB. So it's definitely on the lower side of the other things that we have going on. So and the clap doesn't, it's not overpowering, it's not over top of the music or over top of the vocal. It's at that negative 36 range, which is pretty much a great spot for drums to sit, especially without 808. Because 808 is kind of considered drums, even though it's like a bass sound, but you want your drums to be sitting around that negative 36. And this is honestly, this is actually a really in-depth video, because if I was to go back and forth, pull the same thing up in Logic, I feel like it would be a lot, but maybe it'll be worth it. So maybe I'll go more in depth with maybe some stems if you guys want to actually see individual things as far as the meter. But I feel like this is just a great starting point for you to reference your mixes. So far, we've done this in FL. Now, I'll save this. Let's call this First Stream Lab FL. And so what I'll do is I'm going to take this over and we're going to do the same thing in Logic for the Logic users. Or maybe just so you can see the difference. Maybe you haven't decided on a DAW and you're thinking, or you might switch over. You know, if you follow my ways to do stuff, you know, I can at least guarantee that I can get you to the level. You know what I'm saying? Creatively, how good you are, how dope you are, how much you work at it is all on you. But as far as the rules, I can definitely help get you to the point where what you're doing is industry standard, let's say. So, in Logic, which is my original usage of this entire process of me checking my mixes this way, they have something called the multimeter already. It's stock. It's already, so you go down to metering, multimeter, boom, you pull it up. And basically it's the same thing. You have your frequency ranges here, and then instead of the dBs being on the right, now they're on the left. Me personally, I don't touch any of this stuff. I don't even know what it is, what it means. But so let's go ahead and let's pull that same track in. And mind you, this track is called How to Dance. It's something that I cooked up. Let's see, January, February. So February, and got some dope people on it. Some dope people helped me with it. I like it. It's a cool track. I honestly would rather, you know, like Chris Brown singing or something like that, because I feel like he just got like a better voice than me, and he'd do the dance moves and all that stuff. But we'll see. Maybe after this video, it'll find a home, other than just sitting on my computer. So, oh wait. Got to get the settings right on Logic. So, yep. Okay. All right, here we go. So, let's just go over the differences real quick. The hertz are pretty similar. I think FL. Yeah, the hertz are pretty similar. You know, the low end is here, the high end is here. The dBs are different, and I think that's one thing that makes it a little bit interesting, which is why when you find something you like, you throw it in, you see how that reacts on whatever meter you're using, and you follow those rules for your own mixes on that meter. You can't well, you can, I'm sure it's possible, but you know, if I'm on Logic, I'm using a multimeter, I'm gonna drop it in and see how it is. If I'm on Logic and I use span, I'm gonna drop it in and see how it is. So stick to 1 meter unless you're gonna reference and match. Unless you're gonna reference, like if you use 2 different meters, make sure you reference separately on both of them and then match to the references of the one you referenced on. So let's hear how this sounds. Okay, so with this one, I'm noticing that the bass is staying under that -5 dB, and it's really hovering around that -10. So let's see. So that would be something to keep in mind. If you're on Logic, you want your bass to be right. You know, you want to keep it under that -5, in between this -15 and -5 range is probably a safe bet, where it's not too loud, to where it's clipping or anything like that, and then it's not too low. It's loud enough that you can hear it, you can groove with it. So let's move on and listen to the music and see where that is residing. So what I noticed from the music is the music is staying under negative 15 dBs. So this is before the vocals and before snare or drums. Just bass you got in this range, and the music you have in this range. And so when you make your chords, when you make your melodies, when you draw, when you pull in a sample, when you pull in loops, all the musical stuff, if you're on multimeter and you want the mix to sound similar to what I have going on, you want to keep it at negative 15 and below. Okay? Again, reference to whatever track you want your mix to sound like and see where the different sounds hit, and that lets you know where yours should on your mix. Got it? So I'm gonna point out one interesting thing about multimeter versus the span is that clearly on multimeter you can see when the clap hits, and you can see that it is above where the music is resting. The music has been resting under negative 15, and you can see that clap hitting that 10. Okay. So, to be honest, we've been recording for how long? 25 minutes. I think I'm gonna have to stop it here because it's too in depth. Well, I guess I could spend the last 5 minutes showing you. Okay, so I will do this simply, right? The other rule I said was what? The key. You want to make sure it's in the same key. So I'm going to turn this down a little bit. So there are programs to find keys. I personally don't recommend them because I feel like they can miss a lot. What I kind of do is I'll just pull up a keyboard, any sound, and that easily, this sounds like the root note to me. So you see, I started at C and went up, and I was like, oh, that sounds like the root note to me. I don't know how hard that is for people to do, but to me, it just feels natural. From here, and the reason why it sounds like the root note is it sounds like I can play this note throughout the track. And it doesn't disturb it. And I know that from this note, I only need to figure out whether the key is major or minor. So that would be the minor scale. And here would be a major. And that don't sound right. So I know that it's minor. Now, that I could do a whole video on that, on understanding that. So I think I will do a video and try to explain that more to you guys, because you need to know the rule of how to tell if something is major or minor. So let's say you find the root note and it feels right. Then the most stuff is minor. So you count the steps of the scale going up on the notes. So you got to go whole step, half step for minor. because major would be whole step, and then half step for if it would be major. And when we say step, we're talking about going up on the notes. So that's each note going up is a step. I mean, is a half a step. And so, you know, if you're going minor, it's first from the root, it's a whole step and then a half step. And then if you're going major, it's 2 whole steps. Okay? So, that's that. That's the keys. We'll go more into depth on that. Now, the other rule that's going on in this song is the bass notes and the chords, the progression. So let's see what we got. So we have dun 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 dun. Now I don't even know what progression that is. Like I don't know what numbers that is, but what I can tell you is it's already catchy. It already sounds good. And as long as the chords follow what they need to be as far as major or minor in matching those bass notes, then you know that it will at least work. It'll at least be correct, and it will at least be in a scale that is pleasant to listen to. Depending on your genre, where you're from, those scales are all different. But if we're talking pop music, if we're talking R&B, there are just certain progressions that automatically sound right. And this is an example of one of them. Let's listen one more time. So what I suggest for that is there are a bunch of packs that you can download that will actually give you solid progressions. Let's see. I'm going to see if I can just pull one up just so you can see. Exactly. So if I just search, I just search like progressions. These are stuff that I've downloaded, right? You can go on audios.com and find this. You can go on Reddit and find these packs. Reddit.com and audios with a Z is in, I'll link those in the description. So minor, and here it is. Those numbers that I'm telling you about: 1 2 5 1, 1 4 5 5. So, and it gives you the key for this particular pack. They have the key right here, and then they have the progression numbers, the bass note numbers. So let's just draw one in, drag one in, just so you guys can see what I mean. So I can guarantee you that because they got the Roman numerals on here, and because it's a pack of progressions, that these notes, the way they are set up, even if you know nothing about music theory, are going to sound good. They're going to sound like something. They're going to sound like the beginning of a song. And this is a stock plugin. So I'll let you hear it this way, and then I'll put Analog Labs on it, and we'll see how dope it becomes. Come on. You are like, I already know that that's fire. So let's just pull up Analog Lab to put a dope. We'll go through some dope sounds so that you can see exactly how dope that is without having to do anything besides drag it in, you know? And once you get really good and really practice, there are some people who can just look at the numbers, the 1, 4, 5, whatever the progression is, and they kind of know the mood or know what it sounds like. So let's I don't know. Let's just try the sound. See how it sounds. Well, that's an arpeggiator. Let's go to something else. Okay. Okay. So that's just an example of use progressions to start your tracks. Okay. You know, not everybody has Analog Labs. Not everybody can afford it, wants to afford it. I would suggest you invest in yourself. And if you really want to do this, you need to stay up on what people are using, because not only will it help you to keep up with what's going on, but you'll come across some dope stuff and it could make you better. But for the sake, let's go to just a stock sound. I don't like that one. Yeah. See, this is fire. I feel like just because I have you guys here, maybe I should just hurry up and turn this into a beat very quickly, just so that you could see what I mean and have like a full proof of concept. So, first things first, right? So I started this in Logic. I'll just keep it in Logic and I'll just make a loop out of it. So I'll worry about levels and everything at the end so that you can just hear my voice for now. So me personally, I'm gonna go over to Logic to do these drums. To me, it's just easier to do drums in Logic. They got the browser on the side. You can just drag stuff in. Let's see. Do I got a kit? Yeah. I'm gonna go to a kit from my homie. Let's see. This organ with these chords is kind of giving me like a 21 Savage Drake type of vibe. So I'll just start off with dragging some of the sounds I know that I'll need for this and that I feel like I'll like. Where the hi-hats at, my boy? Okay. Hats. Okay, so just to give you guys an idea of what this could turn into and how quickly you can make something that's dope, just following these simple rules, and then honestly not doing too much after that outside of just structuring it out. So we got a hi-hat, we got a snare. The next important thing is to follow at least the key for your 808 notes so that it's in the same key of the chords. Another good idea might be to follow the actual notes that are in the progression of the bass. So we got like a B, E, A. A, B, E, A. So, okay, cool. It's in the same key. So let's see. A, B, what was the other one? E, back to A. So this is just a guess of where they should be placed. We'll see. Okay, let's wait for it to come back around. You see, I got to time it up because I'm on 2 different programs. So, and that quickly, you have a vibe. You know what I'm saying? At least, even if you're in a session, you can that quickly put together something, and an artist can immediately start vibing. Or a writer, or other producers. So the last step that I'll show you for this is getting those levels right. So while I do this, I'm not going to be able to talk because I'm going to turn this up and it's going to be loud. So we'll go one at a time. We know we got music right here. So we know that we want this based on the How to Dance record, my song, that we want it to be around negative 15 dBs for the volume. So let's turn this up to get that result. So we know that right there, that's at a good volume for it to be exported. So now we're going to go into FL and we're going to match where those drums up should be on FL. Mind you, I know most people don't go back and forth between programs, so I'm not expecting you to do that either. You can do it all on one, but I'm just doing it split up for the sake of time just so that you guys can see. Okay, so I know you guys saw me doing some tweaks. Basically what I was doing was I had this pulled up, right? You saw me adjusting those levels, and what I was looking at was this. I was looking to see where the 808 was hitting, where the hi-hats were hitting, where the snare was hitting, because we know that based on the How to Dance record, we want the music, and we know we don't want anything higher than this range, this pocket, because that's where the music sits on How to Dance, our reference track, We know that we want the bass around the negative 30 area to negative 36 because that's where the bass sat at in our reference for the how to dance. So that's what I did. I made sure the hi-hats were around here. I kept the snare around this negative 42 because that's where the snare was on how to dance. And I made sure the 808 didn't go above, distastefully, that negative 30 range. And so I'll show you. Now, not the craziest beat ever. I literally just whipped that up real quick. And I mean, I took minutes because I was explaining it, but yeah, I could literally do something like that in seconds. And so that's the whole point, is how quickly can you get to industry standard? Whether you have a session with a writer, whether you're in a session with the artist, you're in a session with other producers, you're trying to get a vibe going. You want them to show, you want to show people you have dope tracks, or you have to submit a large amount of tracks because maybe you want to do sync, maybe you want to do TV and film and commercials, and they're like, hey, send us 50 tracks. It's like, well, if you follow these 3 steps, you can at least be sure that your levels will be right, you'll be in the right key, and you're following good progressions that give vibes automatically. It's just up to you to be creative, find different vibes, find different references of songs and sounds that you want to copy the mix of and add your own flavor. But at least using those 3 tools, you know that your levels are right, you know that you're in the right key, and you know that your tracks have a vibe. That's honestly what's most important. And that's the reason why a lot of you guys' beats don't sound good, because your levels are crazy. You got something going on and the snare is way too loud, or your bass isn't loud enough, or your stuff is peaking and it doesn't sound mixed, so it doesn't sound industry standard. So no matter how dope it is, how cool it is, if your levels aren't right, people are gonna skip it most of the time. Sometimes you'll have people who will get on stuff where the levels are crazy, and that's dope. I like that too. But you got to be careful. Most of the time, if you want industry standard, that's a good way to use it. Use the meterings. And second, make sure your beats are in key. Make sure the counter melodies that you're adding or anything, your 808, whatever, any other musical elements, make sure that they're in the same key. Vocal chops, make sure it's in the same key. Find the key of your main piece and only add things from there that are in the same key. And lastly, it does help to start off with loops or get a pack of progressions that you can download, and then you can play with the MIDI, but at least you have a strong foundation that is inspiring, however it may inspire you or inspire someone else. But for the most part, that's a really good foundation for making good, solid beats and tracks for whatever you're making them for. I thank you guys for checking out the first video. I feel like I hope it's going to be good information. I feel like it's going to be a little rough. This is my first one. But if you guys have any questions, please comment them, message me more topics for videos, any feedback of the way I did things or anything. Just let me know, and let's keep this going. Hopefully this stuff helps somebody, and I can keep doing these, and it makes sense to do them, because people are learning and watching and interacting. So please, any thoughts, comments, I don't care if it's negative, I don't care if you got jokes, I want to hear them. So put it in the comments, message me, share this, like, subscribe, and yeah, let's go. Let's get it popping. Thank y'all.